Now, I would normally weld these outside, but they actually fit really nicely into this little vise here. So I've got this cut edge here, which is nice bare metal. Now I've run this edge along the grinder, clean that edge up. Now I'm going to do a nice weld along there, fill that in. I say a nice weld, I haven't done any welding for a little while, so we'll see how that gets on. Obviously I've been wearing goggles for all of the activities today. If you're going to use one of these wire brushes for cleaning, especially these radial ones like that, I definitely suggest that you must wear goggles, and maybe even a full face mask, because these nice wires here, they do like to fly out when you're working at high speed, and they will go straight through your overalls and stab into you. They will obviously not go through a proper mask, but they will prickle up into your face if you're not wearing a full face shield, so be careful when using these. Especially as they start to wear out, they will throw more and more of the bristles out. I prefer these ones because they do kind of tend to throw the bristles out in that direction rather than straight up at you. So I'll give that a bit of a clean with that inside the electric drill, then we'll go in for the weld. As soon as I started doing that, I had one of the metal bits flick up, hit me straight in the face, would have got me straight in the eye if I wasn't wearing my goggles. Lucky one. It's really important that you're wearing correct PPE when we do this, so let's have a go. I've set my welder up to quite a high power because I want to get real good penetration in there. Got quite a high feed because it's quite a thick bit, and I'm going down into this edge and down into that edge. And I'm just going to do a tack at one end and a tack at the other and have a look at how that's gone. So you probably didn't just see me setting the machine up there. Bit of a sensitive machine. Started off with not enough feed, not enough power, then too much feed, not enough power, and then I've got it just right there, so I'll go all the way along there now. Just check I'm not welding to my bench, which I'm not, my vise. I can lift that up a bit now, keep it away from the vise, I don't want to damage the vise. And I'll just zip weld along there and see how that goes. Yeah, there is a bit of penetration there. Okay, not so good up the starting end. The weld has come around the end nicely. I'd really like to get a bit better weld up there, so that looks like a start point that it could fail. So we'll get the welder back on there and zip this end up a bit more. I should just be able to kind of go over there. I better wear my thermal insulate welding gloves. These are not welding gloves, they should be leather. These could just catch on fire. Let's hope they don't. Just going to push that one back up there, so let's see how that goes. Come on, zip. Now, I'm by no means saying that this is a good weld, but this was the cheapest MIG welder off eBay. Does an alright job. I think that has welded together quite nicely, really. Probably a bit too much weld, but I wanted to make sure I got more heat in there than I really needed. Up this end is certainly quite a nice weld. Let's just put a splodge in this corner here and make sure that doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. Oh. And try to get one up the other end here. Not easy to do while you're holding a camera, but let's do that. I wonder if this camera can handle this. Fingers crossed this still goes in there nice. Yeah, that goes in there nicely, sits on there. So that's my extension plate. That should bolt on there no problem. Let's put the bolt on. And now I can start measuring up for how the actual lever is going to mount up onto there. I could either put some holes in there and nut and bolt it on. That seems like probably the most logical solution about there. It's strong enough to take the extra leverage that putting an extension bar will pull on there. I could try putting a threaded piece through there, not bolt it all together, see how it feels, and if it feels alright, we'll go with that. I could probably do some mathematics to calculate it, but that isn't going to happen. Nuts and bolts, really logically stored behind this ply board, and then under the screen wash is my big, oh that's where that glove was, is my big box of much more carefully measured up these holes, marked them out this time, drilled them out so that these bolts fit through, and a pair of bolts to go in there. Now what I'm going to do is put the nut on the other end. Oh, a bit difficult, but this camera doesn't do close-ups, so you'll just have to use your imagination. We'll put those on, and then I'll weld it up from underneath. Trim them down to size as required. We'll see how that goes. Now, from welding it from underneath, I will do those nuts up fairly tight so they hold them flat against there. Try and weld around the edge and weld to the edge plate there. See how that goes. Well, I should probably give this a nice clean up before I go ahead and do that, so we'll skip that, but I'll grind them out and give them a good clean. I think I want a bit more power to that. It's actually maximum power. Let's see how that one goes. Sounds better. What about that one then? Yeah, that looks better, doesn't it? I want a real good bit of weld on there. That's well over the top, but beggars can't be choosers. Let's just get in this side then. Looks like an absolute dog's dinner down there, but I don't think they're going anywhere. They're definitely fixed. Could have maybe done a better job at pushing them up onto the edge. Let's just do that. One-handed. It looks awful. I think it was a mix between not having enough power, I was maxing out. That's the problem with these single phase welders. As soon as you're doing anything too bulky, they don't work. Maybe the stick welder would have been better to get in there with. Do have one, but try not to use it too often. But I definitely think they're fixed and they're not going anywhere. Just give that a bit of a stress test by doing them up tight. Yeah, they won't go anywhere. And then we'll undo them again. Now the next thing I'm going to do is trim them down to whatever size we do. I don't know if I actually need to trim them down. The only reason why I might need to is to make it a bit easier to undo them. But let's go and offer that up. I can mark where they would be trimmed off, and then I can show you trimming those off. There really is no reason at all to trim these off because they don't snag on anything. I'll just show you how we would if we had to. So I've put the nut on the bolt to give me some indication of how far I want to trim it off. I'm actually going to use a manual hacksaw this time and chop them off. Okay, now I'll leave the bolt on and I'll show you why in a minute. Well, that broke a sweat. So the reason why I left the nuts on is because usually cutting these with a hacksaw actually damages the thread. By leaving the bolt on, we can just unscrew the bolt, and as it comes off it actually cuts the end of the thread back into shape, or that's the theory anyway. Sometimes people go around them with a file afterwards, but I often find that just using this method is fine. Alright, let's offer this up into place and see how it goes. So that is going to go there. I've got one nut will go on here. The other nut I have left in my pocket somewhere. Oh. Fantastic. Still a bit worried about this how I'm going to get that cable over to the back of the handle, but that's going to be like another little task in itself, whether I chop some of this out to get an angle on it, bend the back of that might work, or maybe put another threaded bolt or pin out this way. We now can bolt on the actual handle itself. Let's do that up. Try the other way around. Oh, well, I just showed you about the benefits of keeping them nice and tidy so they go on easily, and now it won't go on at all. Just a bit of a pain. There we go. It's on. So once we get that back into position, let's see how that goes. So, do that one up. Keep going. That's it, nice. Nice, hopefully it doesn't interfere with the gear leverage. So there's this bit here where it's clipping on. So we'll go around and see whether that's the case anymore. Let's pop this part and that away. Take the electric chair all the way forward without it touching. Lovely jubbly. Now all we've got to do is think about how to connect that cable. I believe there's another storm on its way, so probably have to give up on this soon because of the weather. How is that going to reach over there? Do we think a pin will work? Let's just get a nut and bolt on that and see what happens, shall we? Let's do it. Okay, so the idea, or one idea that I'm going to just try out is to put a bolt through there. I have a feeling that this handle is not going to be sturdy enough. If it isn't, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I might actually have to go ahead and make a whole new handle as well, which might be an interesting project. But let's do that up onto there nice and tight. Not so tight that it bends it. What I could actually do is put a piece of metal in the middle to take up some of the slack in there. Okay, we'll tighten that one up. Now how am I going to get that over the end? Will it even fit? I should have probably checked that before I did all that up, shouldn't I? It does just fit. Okay, I haven't been very well recently. I've had some problems with pain in my arms and stuff like that. No one can figure it out. So I really don't think I'm going to have the strength to lift that up there on my own. Maybe if I add something in there for a bit of leverage might help. Let's see. No, what about if I go in that end for some leverage? No. So the only way I can think of doing that is to go under the van, loosen the handbrake up on the adjuster, hook it over, and then do it back up on the adjuster, which I didn't really want to have to do, but looks like it's going to be the ultimate solution at the moment. And the storm's just kicking in and the rain has just started. Okay, just to finish this video off, I'll show where I've got to now. So where the cable was attaching to the puller part of the handle, that was bending. So what I've done is actually put this piece of reinforced metal bar in, hole at each end. The pin at the hinge end here, the pivot point, would not take that, so I've taken that out and put a nut and bolt through there. I was going to put nylocks on there, but I didn't have any in stock at the moment, so I just put 2 bolts on there to stop that from rattling loose. I've put double bolts on here as well, not bolts, nuts. And then just to reinforce the actual piece, the threaded piece that comes out here that the cable is hooked onto, I put some nuts along there for now, 1, 2, 3 and 2 on the back there, and that just holds that in place. Probably not the best solution there. I will probably end up putting a much thicker piece of metal through there. We'll find out. So this is the handbrake in action. You can see there's very little movement there now. A little bit, but anything more than there was originally, because originally there is a little bit of movement in that. You can see that ratchets on fine, plenty of clearance between the chair and the handbrake itself, so no problems there. I was hoping to get the plastic casing back on from the chair, and if I'd measured up I probably could have, but what I'll probably do now is build some sort of piece here, piece of carpeted wood screwed on the edge of there, and a little maybe plyboard box around there that will just allow me to put the original plastic shrouds on. So I'll build a little box up and then kind of screw that one down into the box. But other than that, quite happy about how that's turned out.